Cesar Chavez was a migrant farm worker who fought for farmers' rights. A migrant worker is a farm worker who moves all around the country harvesting crops seasonally. Before Cesar's time, they worked in horrible conditions and were treated awfully by the people they worked for and the citizens of whatever town they were stationed in. This is what Cesar worked to improve. Born in 1927 on March 31st into a large family, Cesar learned the importance of working very hard early. His family owned a ranch and a grocery store. He and his siblings helped their parents run the grocery store and the ranch. They lived in a house near their ranch, but their land was lost in the Great Depression. The father tried to buy just their home, but the bank refused his request for a loan. His father made a deal to keep the house. He had to clear the land around the ranch and then he could have it. Although he held up his end of the deal, the family was forced out of their home. They became migrant farm workers. In the 7th grade, Cesar dropped out of school. This would be his last year of formal education. He dropped out so he could replace his mother in the fields. The family worked hard all throughout the year. They would pick peas and lettuce in the winter, cherries and beans in the spring, corn and grapes in the summer, and cotton in the fall. In 1944, Cesar joined the U.S. Navy. He described it as the worst 2 years of my life. Cesar worked in the field until 1952, when he became an organizer for the Community Service Organization, CSO, a Latino civil rights group. Chavez led the Delano Grape Strike on September 8, 1965, to protest for higher wages. He urged every U.S. citizen to stop buying table grapes to protest the low wages and awful living conditions of the workers. This is a speech of his on the importance of migrant workers. It is given during this strike. He makes the point that most people depend on these workers for most of their food, even if they're not aware of it.
Well, I'm going to talk about something very American, and you may not accept it. My experience, voting doesn't really help the poor people. The people who really need help and are poor, they don't get help from their vote. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't vote. I still vote. But look at it, really look at it. Most things that are done through the legislatures are concerned about the vast majority of people, which happen to the middle class and higher. Oh, there's a lot of talk, but really solutions don't come there. And we learn that we'll continue to vote and get people to vote, but really, there's another place we can vote and be extremely successful, and that's the marketplace.
While fighting for rights in the Midwest, Cesar Chavez's movement inspired the founding of 2 Midwestern independent unions, Obreros Unidos in Wisconsin in 1966, and the Farm Labor Organizing Committee, FLOC, in Ohio in 1967. Chavez led one of the biggest farm strikes in history, the Salad Bowl Strike. This was to improve the wages and working conditions for all farm workers. Although his formal education stopped at the 7th grade, he always made sure to express the importance of education. He believed that through education, and education only, we could reach complete equality for all. He was also a big fighter for animal rights. He was a vegan for his animal rights views and for his health. On April 23, 1993, Cesar died of natural causes in an apartment in San Luis, Arizona. Shortly after his death, his widow, Helen Chavez, donated his black nylon Union jacket to the National Museum of American History, a branch of the Smithsonian. We must understand that the highest form of freedom carries with it the greatest measure of discipline. Once social change begins, it cannot be reversed. You cannot uneducate the person that has learned to read. You cannot humiliate the person who feels pride. You cannot oppress the people who are not afraid anymore. Nonviolence really rests on the reservoir that you have create in yourself of patience, not of being patient with the problems, but of being patient with yourself to do the hard work. You are never strong enough where you don't need help. The fight is never about grapes or lettuce. It is always about people.